Hey guys, my name is Escarla. Welcome back to my channel. This is my little crafty corner of the universe where I like to document my making. Pretty much that revolves around knitting, crocheting, spinning, pretty much fiber arts related content. So if you're into that, please subscribe to the channel. I hope you have something cozy to drink, you're knitting ready, you're crocheting, whatever you're working on, bring that along. This is gonna be a cozy wozy little knitting vlog. So today is Friday and I am alone with the baby. So I'm gonna do my best to film as much as I can, but we will see how that goes. He is sleeping now, so we are in the clear. I was able to shower, get myself ready. He's been a little angel. But yeah, so it's Friday. I am going to bring you guys along the next few days. So if you're returning to the channel, you are probably familiar with this little ditty here. It is the Fortuna pullover by Elspeth Vance. And this was the front cover featured design on the last issue of Pom Pom magazine in January, I believe. I've just been daydreaming about making this garment for a long time, and I decided to spin for the contrast color. So the black is going to be this contrast color here that I've spun up. It is from Hello Yarn, and it is like a grayish, dark olive color. Pretty much looks gray, and I am going to swatch for this. So I've spun up the contrast color to match my Elsa wool, which is a worsted weight Cormo fiber. The fiber I'm spinning is also Cormo, so I made sure to get the same breed, and I'm really eager to swatch on this. I did wash to set the twist of my contrast color, and quite a bit of dye came out, so I'm a little nervous to see how the swatch is going to react. I've kind of come up with my own solution to that. Worst case scenario, I can use one of those color catching sheets to pull in the dye, but we'll see how it goes. So we're gonna wind up this yarn and get to swatching. Other than that, my goals is to knit on my Gib II that needs finishing. So come along with me, we will see what we get up to, and I will see you in the next clip. Hi, I'm here at my spinning wheel. I wanted to show you guys what I do to get the most accurate matching yarn when I'm trying to match to a skein. So this is the fiber I am working with. So I basically spin one of the 4-ounce bags into one bobbin as just one continuous piece. I don't really bother with splitting the actual fiber itself other than fluffing it out to make spinning easier, and then I might like stretch it out a little bit. The second bag I split into 4 and I spin that, and that essentially creates a fractal spun yarn that will create that like transitioning colors, kind of stripy effect, if you will. So that's what I'm doing in terms of spinning. I am spinning on my larger whirl here. Am I? Yes, just making sure. Yeah, so I'll bring it closer so you can see what I do. All right, so you're nice and up close now, so you can see I'm working on spinning one of the singles. But what I essentially do is I tie a piece of the yarn I'm trying to match. I keep one side twisted so I can see what it looks like with the twist, and then I split the fiber in half so I can see what a single looks like. Now this Elsa wool is actually a woolen preparation while I'm spinning the Hello Yarn fiber that I got as a worsted preparation. So we'll see what that looks like in the swatch. I don't think it'll cause too many problems, but we will see. And yeah, so whenever I'm spinning my single, for example, I have one going right here, I essentially try and match that single stretched out to what I'm currently spinning. Now after the fiber was spun up and I got it all skeined up and I soaked it, I thwacked the fiber and I fluffed it out a lot too, so that you're able to get kind of like a thicker, more plump yarn. So that is essentially what I'm doing, and I'm sure I will bring you along in the future when I'm spinning this so you can get the full picture from start to finish. But as of now, let's get swatching.
The next day.
Hi, so it is Saturday morning. It's around 9 a.m. and I am swatching away. So, couple of notes. I hate swatching in the round. It's so annoying because you got to carry your floats in the back, and I always seem to leave it a little bit tight, even though I always try to kind of stretch it out. And I'm very precious with my yarn, okay? There's no freaking way I'm gonna cut through all of this to get like an even kind of swatch. So that's one thing. Number two, the way the chart is set up, you have like kind of a wider panel at the edge of the repeat. And because I'm carrying my floats, most of the floats are being carried further out. So this part of the swatch is just kind of creating a pucker effect because of the floats being carried. It's just making it annoying, and I kind of wish I just swatched up till here. But that's okay, because the whole point of the swatch is to make sure I get gauge and to also see how the two yarns are gonna work together. Now, when I had first mentioned that I'm gonna be spinning worsted and working with a woolen prep for the other fiber, a lot of people were saying how that would be kind of a problem. But because of the nature of this design, you're actually purling the contrast color, so you don't really get any sort of kind of popping effect. And even if you did, I feel like it would look kind of cool. It'd be just like kind of a part of the fabric, you know? So I'm just gonna swatch for a little bit longer, and I think that'll be enough for me to see what my gauge is, and also to be able to wash this and see if we're gonna get any bleeding, what's gonna happen. So I'm just gonna do probably another 3 rows, and I'll be satisfied. I never really care about row gauge. I just care more about how many stitches we have per inch width-wise. I don't think I'm making any sense. I'm not caffeinated enough right now, but yeah, watching the baby as I work on this. So I feel like being a mother means just seizing every opportunity you have to do the things you need to do, because time is very, very precious now. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.
Next morning.
it is Monday. My best friend came over this weekend and we just hung out, spent time with the baby, and I really didn't have time to film. But I did a lot of cooking, so I did some meal prepping, which was nice, and I also made a really, really yummy apple cake that was delicious. It had like a cinnamon swirl thing going on up top. Anyway, we have a problem. Here's the swatch that we made. I had washed and blocked it, and everything turned out great with the exception that there is some minor bleeding happening when I ended up washing this. Some of that hand dye ended up mildly dyeing the undyed yarn. A few people did mention that this was a potential issue that would arise with the yarn being undyed and then the other yarn being dyed. When I had washed this to set the twist, there was a bit of dye that leached off of that. So I ordered some color catchers online that's going to arrive tomorrow, and we will test it out again. I'm going to make a new swatch that's just a simple, smaller swatch version of this. So I think I'm just going to omit the edges of the chart and just work on the center, and we're going to wash it and see. So it's very, very subtle. It doesn't bother me a ton, but I'm just worried that the more and more I would wash the finished garment, the more of that dye will leach into the undyed yarn section of the pattern. So we will see what happens with the color catcher. Hopefully that is the solution. And yeah, other than that, I think today I'm just going to finish knitting up that sleeve and maybe cast something else on. We will see. All right, so as you just saw, I finished the sleeve. So I did run into a problem. My row gauge was off. The pattern calls for 32 stitches, and I think I have 26 stitches. Following the pattern, you follow a certain amount of length to decrease at, and then you decrease a certain amount of times to get to the length that you need. But because my gauge was off, I had to like rapidly decrease at the end and kind of shift off the pattern because I didn't pay attention to my gauge. So it is important to gauge, but if you don't, just know how to fix your problems. So that worked out, and I always mark my decreases with, you know, a little stitch marker. I just use these little clothespins things, and that way when I do the second sleeve I can match it precisely. So yeah, at this point this is finished. It's 10 p.m. now, but I think I'm actually gonna make a gauge swatch for tomorrow when I get my color catcher so I can test out and see if that works. But yeah, I don't know how much more knitting I'll get done. My son's probably gonna wake up soon. He's been sleeping really well tonight, so that is good. So yeah, half done. And you know what, I'll probably start the second sleeve so that tomorrow I'm not like overwhelmed with the prospect of doing that. So all right, talk to you later.
The following day.
Hi guys, it is Tuesday and I just got mail. So I got the color catchers so we can do our little experiment with the swatch. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't, I might still just knit it. I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully this is the solution that I needed. And then my order from Linda Hobby came. So these are the 2 colors that I got from Linda Hobby, 2 sweater quantities. I just realized that the Drops Charisma is super washed. Didn't know that, but still feels nice and woolly and looks good. So I got 2 sweater quantities. It was just thrown in the box like this, which hopefully if it rains or something, their stuff doesn't get destroyed, because that's not a very safe way to pack yarn. But anyway, I had ordered, just running through here because I ordered a few little tiny things. I got some buttons. This one I ordered 2 of, but I only see 1 in the box, so I have to see what's up with that. And then I got some darning needles. I lost like all of my angled ones. I only have 1, so I just bought 2 of these. It was probably like $1 or so each for all of these. So yeah, that's my little Linda Hobby haul. Hey guys, so it is later in the day and I am going to do some testing of this magical color catcher. We're gonna see if it works. Now this is a very messy table going on. I was gonna clean it up, but we're friends, right? So like, who cares? So I'm gonna test this out in the same way that I blocked the first swatch, which was in a tiny little Tupperware container. Here's my swatch, here's my soak, same stuff I used. So I'm just gonna put a drop of this because we do not need much. Suds this up. Now I am using cool water. I think I used warm water with my first swatch, which probably was a mistake. You'd want to stay away from like warm to hot water when you're having some color problems. So yeah, but we're gonna use one of these. So this says to use 1 sheet in a washing machine, then add detergent and clothing. Use 2 sheets for large loads. Okay. So because this is so tiny, I don't want to waste a full sheet. So I think this seems to be 1 sheet. So I'm going to rip it in half. Oh, I can't rip this. Oh, yes, I can. Okay. Ooh, it kind of smells good. All right, so I'm going to use that in there. And drop in my swatch. Another thing I noticed is the part of the yarn. Oh my god, let me not get my pom-pom magazine wet. Jesus Christ. Okay. So what I was going to say is the darker color, the part of the yarn that I was knitting was the slightly lighter gray tone rather than the really deep dark color. So this probably let out way more ink than this might, or dye I should say. So yeah, let me stop messing around. We'll leave this for 15 minutes and I'll be back. Okay guys, so I'm back and it's been probably a little more than 15 minutes now, but we can get this out of here. Now I do see that the water is kind of grayish, but the swatch looks fine to me. I don't see any noticeable bleeding. Now I will have to let this dry, but I do think this worked. Okay, so as you saw, we have some cloudy water. I think you can tell a little better in this angle. Now I think the water from the last swatch that I did wasn't this cloudy. So that's giving me hope that we're going to be in the clear with the color catcher. I don't see any visible changes. The swatch is still wet, so we will see. This is the original swatch. This is the new one. I don't think you'll see the subtleties of the bleeding on camera. It truly is so subtle that I think I'm just going to move forward. And this is 100% wool. There's no like processing in it, so it's pretty much self-cleaning for the most part. So I usually tend to wash my woolens maybe a couple times in the season, depending how much wear I get, if not just once. But that depends on how close the armpit area of the garment is to my real armpit. So yeah, I think I'm gonna move forward. I'm very happy that I did the little experiment to see. I do see less bleeding, but it's so subtle. Like, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to wait for this to dry anyway, because, you know, the colors are kind of dulled down since it's wet right now. So yeah, that is that. I am glad I swatched and I figured that out. I am meeting gauge with the needles that are recommended, so that's good to know as well. So I do want to cast on a new cardigan for my son, and I think I'm going to do the Pearl Soho. Here it is. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Hopefully, it's probably a little blown out there, but it's simply the best cardigan for babies and toddlers. That's literally the entire name of the garment, which is kind of a mouthful. But it's a garter stitch, super simple sweater, and I think that'll be a nice thing to cast on now that I'm wrapping up this project. I don't know what to say. I just like to have a lot of projects going. It makes me feel good. I am gonna knit that in the Big Twist Supernova. It's an acrylic yarn. It's 80% premium acrylic and 20% wool, and I just absolutely love this colorway. Because it's such a colorful colorway, I wouldn't want to do anything involving like cables or lace or anything like that. So I think like a regular old garter stitch garment will be perfect for this colorway. It's 475 yards. The pattern calls for about 400 yards of a DK weight. This is a DK weight. I may do like a tiny swatch to be safe, but I might just cast on and not care about it, because the size I will be making him is 6 to 12 months, so it won't fit him quite yet. Anyway, that is that. I feel like I'm talking a lot.
Approximately 10 hours later.
So, last you saw me frogging the progress that I made for the little cardigan I'm making my son. And I started over. I cast it on for the newborn size. My gauge was off. Here's the progress I've made since frogging the other one. But yeah, my gauge was off, and I guess this is a good point to mention a little review for this yarn. Now, colorway, stunning. I love it. The overall feel, love it. It's got some halo happening. It's got good fluff, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to work with, I'm not gonna lie. So I think this is like, I guess it's called a core spun yarn. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology. Correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially there's a thread in the center, and then the yarn, or the fiber I should say, is wound up along that one thread. So it creates a single ply yarn technically, but because of that kind of center thread, whenever you're holding your yarn, it kind of tugs at the fiber, and I'll do a close-up so you guys can see what I mean. But essentially, if your tension is too tight when you're knitting, which mine tends to be, I'm not like holding on to dear life or anything, but my tension is a little bit on the tighter side. I would say it's kind of in the center, but I do like to make sure my stitches are nice and tight. So I think because of the way I hold my yarn, while I'm working, it's naturally tugging along the outside fiber and creating these little lumps of fiber along the yarn, which then kind of shows up on the fabric. So working with this yarn, I've had to slightly adjust my tension, which made my tension a little bit looser than what it would normally be. So when I was working up the size that I wanted, which was a 6 to 12 month, it ended up being way too big. So I frogged it and I started over with the newborn size, which essentially the pattern calls for newborn and then it jumps to 6 to 12 months. So I'm assuming that the newborn size is like 0 to 6 months, hopefully. It is garter stitch, so it's super stretchy. From my experience with the baby surprise jacket, it wears really well, and I think it will work for several months because of its stretchy nature. So all in all is good. But this yarn, this is that new Big Twist. I'll put it on the screen because I already forgot the name of the actual yarn itself. Very pretty, but kind of annoying to work with. I don't think it would be great to crochet with. I think this is more of a knit yarn. But yeah, if you hold your yarn the way I do, which essentially I just wrap it around my finger and then I hold the rest with the rest of my hand, as you work on your pattern, you will end up creating lumps in your yarn. So would I purchase it again? Maybe if the colorway is like super stunning and I'm obsessed with it, I would, but otherwise I would kind of avoid this yarn because of the extra step it's taking for me to loosen my tension. So that is that. But yeah, I think other than my little impromptu review there, I think that's going to be it for the video. Was an interesting one. Usually I try to complete something in a vlog, but this one was just kind of everything in progress. This is a realistic view into my crafting life here. It's been a few days of making, but nothing is quite complete. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you being here as always. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also find me on Instagram at Starseed Creations for more daily stories and such. Wishing you all of the best in your crafting adventures this week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.